Hello and welcome in Wednesday live chat for this week's Travelers Championship or anything else that you want to talk about. This time is yours. Good to be back in the saddle after the U.S. Open. Appreciate everybody being flexible on timing this week. Obviously, this is 3 hours earlier than we normally do it on Wednesday with the travel, and I've got a bunch of stuff going on. I figured it'd be better just to move it up, change the time a little bit as opposed to like canceling it all together. This is like my favorite hour of the week, so I didn't want to do that. So we'll roll through as many questions, comments, concerns, anything you want over the course of the next hour or so. We'll use data to try to figure some of this stuff out, and we'll kind of see where we end up from there. So Dave's going to start us off here. It says, good morning, Mr. Gehman. Looking for game theory nuggets on taking down a $10 single entry GPP on DraftKings 1,000 entries. A couple of tips to build a lineup that could win. Yeah, this is certainly a big topic, right? To try to bite off here in just like 30 seconds or something like that. But in theory, a lot of the single entries are more polarized when it comes to the ownership numbers. So for example, if you look at projected ownership for this week, let's say Patrick Cantlay's 21% owned projected ownership. This is the RickRunGood.com custom model, and the projected ownership that's flowing into it right now. You'll probably see Patrick Cantlay closer to 30% this week in single entries. There's just this dynamic that users in single entries, because they're only making one lineup, tend to gravitate to guys that they can't pass up. So being a little bit more different, especially on some of the chalkier plays, is probably one of the things. Obviously the larger that you get in terms of contest size, the more risk you need to take on, right? So you're probably looking to have maximum projected ownership somewhere between 60 and 80%, maybe skewing lower than that. And especially the higher you go, the better you are. If you don't want to necessarily worry about total projected ownership, what you could do is kind of do the barbell idea, which is, you can have 3 golfers that are around 20% ownership, but have 3 golfers that are like 5% or below. Gives you a little bit of leverage on those guys. Having 6 guys at 15% does nothing for you. So we could probably talk about that for another couple of hours, but hopefully something there resonates with you, Dave. Jason says, hey, Rick, I'm thinking of putting Adam Schenk on my Roto team this week instead of Wyndham. Is that crazy? This is probably the 1 week to do it, right? So Wyndham Clark has been phenomenal. If you've been watching this channel, we've been tracking the performances of Wyndham Clark for a long time. The only miscut, the only blemish was after his win at the Wells Fargo Championship. It's only a narrative concern against Wyndham Clark at this moment, but I will point out that Adam Schenk's been playing really good golf. So he missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but it was, I think he went 75-69 Thursday, Friday. So he actually had one of the worst rounds, or his worst round in the easiest conditions, played much better on Friday, and still missed the cut right there on the number or close to it. Outside of that, runner-up finish at the Charles Schwab, T7 at the Memorial. The ball striking numbers are there. If you want to take it further, we can look at this by round and see what Adam Schenk was doing. Get this filtered. During round 1 and round 2. So he loses 2 strokes off the tee on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, Friday was awesome, right? I mean, Friday he gained 3 strokes on approach. He gained with the putter. He gained 3.2 strokes to the field. It just wasn't good enough after the disaster that was Thursday. So I'm pretty bullish on Adam Schenk. Swapping him out for Wyndham might be a bit of a stretch, but having the ability to access Adam Schenk in a couple of different formats, whether it's finishing position market, whether it is DFS or Jock market, something like that. Like he's probably going to be a sick Jock market play. Let's look at his. Let's just do this. Let's just sort by Adam Schenk and see what he's been doing in the Jock market. So I'm sure he lost at the U.S. Open because he missed the cut. But yeah, big returns at the Memorial and the Charles Schwab. I mean, he's going for like $3 or $4 in IPO. So if you get him for $5 tonight and he finishes inside the top 30, right? You're making money on that, aren't you? So I would be format selective on Adam Schenk. One and done, just outside the money. Should I use Rory this week or save him for upcoming events? St. Jude or the BMW? I would use him here. He's playing great golf, right? He gained 11 strokes ball striking last week. He has a decent bit of success around this place, doesn't he? He's got like a bunch of top 10s, I believe. A bunch of top 20s. Yeah, so 4 top 20s in each of his starts at the Travelers. And then he's got, a bunch of top 10s in a row. The ball striking numbers there. I would use Rory here. I imagine he's been used in most places. Saving him for St. Jude, I don't think makes a ton of sense. If you look at TPC Southwind, if you load, let's just load this field and look at TPC Southwind. Whoops, that's Southern Hills. You're probably going to find guys with better history around that. Like Justin, if you have Justin Thomas available, if you have Hideki available, Colin available, Rom, Fitzpatrick, these are all guys that have better history around TPC Southwind than Rory does. So I'd probably roll Rory now and somebody else a little bit later. DFS Chef says, when scraping stats, I noticed a name up near the top in several stat categories and wondering if you could do a deep dive on Kevin Yu. Sure. So I think he's back from injury now. And before he was hurt, he was like the king of team no putt. So you see, he hasn't played since Pebble Beach, but he was getting multiple strokes on approach and multiple strokes ball striking in every single event that he's played this year. Rookie comes up from the Korn Ferry Tour, ball strikes the hell out of it, knocks the cover off the ball, and he's very sour in the short game categories, which, listen, that's good. It's bad. I don't know what to make of having 4 months off and trying to come back and get into competitive form right away. But I would be more interested in Kevin Yu than a lot of other guys at this price, just because of the elite ball striking that we saw. So if we even do this, power rankings, last 36 rounds, obviously his are going to be spread out over a long period of time. But if we sort this by ball striking, I bet you Kevin Yu, he's like the 6th best ball striker in this field. He's between Colin Morikawa and Gary Woodland. Obviously much smaller sample size, and it was further back, but I love the numbers. How could I not? One and done, Morikawa, Henley, or English, and currently not cashing. I think objectively Colin Morikawa is like the best play. In most situations. If you are front running, you can use Colin. If you are chasing, you can use Colin because he has he's already been used in a lot of places and he's not projecting to be super highly owned for this week. So I think just the best play of the week, all things considered, is Colin Morikawa. I've used him in a lot of one and dones. We're getting the elite ball striking back. The last 6 rounds have been splendid. The last 24 have been great. No real concerns here. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Brent says, hey, Rick, just an idea. If possible, in the golfer profile page, could you add a column near the salary and fantasy points column for real ownership that week? Oh, got it. Yes. Yeah. So you're talking about Brent right like here, right? So you'd have salary, fantasy points, and then what their ownership was. Yeah, I can do that. You might have to remind me about it, but yes, I'll do it. Can we do a deep dive on Dylan Wu? Seems like he's consistently underpriced and keeps making cuts. Yeah, that's really been the story of Dylan Wu for the last handful of months. He generally lives in that like $6,500 to $7,300 range. He is a talented tee to green player, and the putter can lose you 3 strokes or gain you 5. I like the way Dylan Wu plays golf. I like it a lot. In fact, this is a stat metric that is much better than a lot of his peers, right? So Dylan Wu is priced at, what's his real price this week? $6,600. So if we go, like, let's just sort this by guys in the 6K range, last 36 rounds, strokes gained total. Actually, last 50 rounds, Dylan Wu is the 2nd best player in the 6K range. Number of 36 rounds, he is the 4th best player in the 6K range. If you look from tee to green, He's the best player in the 6K range over the last 36 outside of, I guess Kevin Wu was up there. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was looking at Kevin Wu. Kevin Yu, not Dylan Wu. Coffee hasn't kicked in yet, doing this a little bit earlier. So, yes, I think as far as being priced incorrectly against his peers, Dylan Wu continues to check that off as a fact. Hey, Rick, hope you're well. Which pair would you choose, Ricky and Sa or Siwoo and Ludwig? Probably Siwoo and Ludwig. So let's just quickly run through this here. So Siwoo, die crusher, by the way, and also has been great. Drives it well. Great on the second shot. The short game is improving. The putter is not the worst thing in the world anymore, and he's being rewarded with that with some good finishes. And now you add Ludwig to the conversation, who we don't have nearly as much data on, but I think we all can kind of project what this kid is going to be, right? Really great amateur and collegiate career. Has made each of his last 4 cuts on the PGA Tour and the European Tour, the T25 at the Canadian Open, where he gained 6 strokes off the tee. I mean, he's a player. He's a real player. So I'd go with those two. Who in the $6,000 range is most likely to make the cut? Well, we already kind of talked about Dylan Wu. I think that Mark Hubbard, who should be like, he's $6,900, is certainly on that list, right? Hubbard's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. He's made 3 in a row here. His ball striking metrics are about as good as it gets. If you want to look at this a little bit of a different way, you could go to the strokes gain distribution and find the percentage of guys that gain gain strokes to the field, right? So you've got in the 6K range where you've got, let's see here. Yeah, Hubbard gains 72% of the time to the field. Neesmith does 82% of the time. Those are probably the most. And what you're looking at there is basically saying, okay, if they're going to gain strokes to the field frequently, they're likely to do that in the first 2 rounds and then make the cut. That's kind of the ideal idea there. When did people start referring to Cantlay and Xander as the disgusting brothers, and why? I just found out about that, Garrett, right now with your comment. I'm assuming that's a reference to Succession. Also, top 2 or 3 guys in ownership from each range, please, and thank you. Okay, so here is, let's get everybody back in here. Cheat sheet, RickRunGood.com, projected ownership. So Scotty and Cantlay carrying the ownership in the 10K range. Fleetwood and Fowler carrying it in the 9K range. The 8s are pretty barren, except for the bottom of Tom Kim and Siwoo Kim. The 7s are huddling around Russell Henley for the most part. And Austin Eckroat at the bottom. The 6s, nobody's super popular, but Hubbard, Harry Hall, Kevin Yu are 3, 4, 5, 6-ish%, which is about the most you're going to get. Kyle's looking for a deep dive on Eric Cole. I'm an Eric Cole truther, have been for quite some time. I think he plays well across all places. I've described him as like a bulldog, right? He's got 56 mini tour wins in the last 12 years. And now he's playing great golf on the PGA Tour. Look at this. Also, look at this. Hat tip to Patrick McDonald, who pointed this out to me. He has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks in a row. This will be his 11th week. And then he's played basically 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. He's played like 15 out of 18 weeks. Plays a lot, doesn't matter. Plays well. Tee to green numbers are great. He has been lightning hot with the putter in his last 3. He's gained 5 strokes putting in each one of those. The finishing positions are there. He will at some point marry that together like he did at Mexico, like he did at Honda, and find himself in the top 5. Like he's just, his floor seems pretty high for a guy of his price and caliber, or at least perceived caliber. And he has a really good path to like popping off for a ceiling. Hey, Rick, great job as always. What are your thoughts on Sam Bennett? Looks like he could be running out of steam. So Sam Bennett's a guy that we probably have to look at from a like round by round perspective here because we have so few rounds on him. But let's see if we can find something here for Sam Bennett, who's $7,000. I would not necessarily say he's running out of steam. He's had one bad round in his last 8. It was Saturday at the US Open. He lost 5 strokes on approach. He had one bad round at the Memorial where he lost 3 strokes on approach. Other than that, so again, this is, I mean, remember, he made a deep run at the Masters. He was in college. He turned pro. He played the Memorial, played the RBC Canadian Open, played the US Open. So we don't have a lot of data on him, but I would say he's played like 12 really good rounds, or 14 good rounds and like 2 bad rounds, which is something that I would probably take. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with the assessment that he is running out of steam. Can we get another good week from CT Pan? Yeah. So the CT Pan, I saw there was a bunch of questions with CT Pan this week, or like tweets at me or whatever, but excuse me. Here's what he's been up to. He was dealing with the wrist injury, right? That's something you heard about at the Canadian Open. He goes out, gains across the board at the Byron Nelson. So he's got a 4th and a T3. I think that this is ripe for disaster, right? I think it's ripe for disaster, but you've got to give him one more crack here, because when you look at this golf course, 6,800 yards, Pete Dye, where precision is better than power, or at least equal to power this week. This is probably one of the better setups for CT Pan here in Harbortown, maybe Pebble Beach, that you're going to get on the schedule. So while I think we are prime for some regression from CT Pan, it might hold off one more week. Well, starting my lineups with 2 9K guys be as contrarian as I think it's going to be. Yeah, because there's 2 guys in the 10K range that are projected over 21%. There's nobody in the 9K range that's projected over 16%. So even if you started with the 2 most popular, Fleetwood and Ricky, you could probably then get creative enough in other places where you'd be fairly unique. Good day, Rick. What are we going to do about 30% owned Russell Henley? And what are your favorite pivots off of him? Yeah. So super love Russell Henley, except I don't think I want to be involved in a $7,800, 25% owned Russell Henley. Unfortunately, the good news for Henley is now that he seems to have his game back, he does have the type of game that is going to translate to a lot of different golf courses. Gaining a stroke and a half on approach every single round works everywhere. Being a positive putter, which he has been for his last 8 starts, or, in aggregate, works everywhere. If you look at some of the better courses for him, John Deere coming up, TPC Deer Run is a place that he's crushed. Sedgefield, Wyndham, a place that he's crushed. So we already have his best 2 career golf courses are still coming up on the schedule. So I do not necessarily think we need to roll out Russell here and just kind of see what happens. You actually kind of hope if you're fading Russell Henley, you hope he misses the cut and you play him at the John Deere. Oh, as far as pivots go, so it's not much, but I would not mind Corey Connors here, who's going to be like 8% less owned. And then probably Brian Harmon, who has better course history, flashed in the pan for at least Thursday of last week before fading a little bit over the final 3 rounds. And he's going to be probably half the ownership that Russell Henley is. Leaving $700 on the table, is that too high? No, never. Sorry, I thought I was choking. Armina came in. Could you get me water? That'd be great. Oh my God. I was like, sorry, my bad. Whew. Coffee went down the wrong pipe. Thank you. I appreciate it. When you do your overview videos, you have golfers you have already identified. Can you give a brief overview of process to identify these golfers? Yes. Sorry, guys. Ooh, man, that was a tough scene. I would say it's kind of hard to say what the process is because I'm living in this world, right? So every week I'm seeing golfers, how they play, understanding the courses. Oh my God. I'm in a spot of bother right now. Give me 1 second. Sorry guys. Let's give me a second here. All of the tools and data that you see me use on this channel is from my site, RickRunGood.com. RickRunGood.com is one of the largest golf databases on the planet, and it's geared towards making your DFS and betting research process as efficient as possible. There are literally millions of data points in the database, and while that might sound intimidating, the tools that I've built allow you to cut through the data quickly, choose what's important to use, and even build lineups that are ready for import directly into DraftKings. Outside of that, membership gets you access to the Slack channel. Currently 2,000 run gooders who are ready to share insights and have a little fun. I love it and you will too. Sign up at rickrungood.com. Okay, sorry. I've never really had that happen. So when I'm in it every single week, I have an understanding of what types of things are happening, what types of things are trending, what types of guys I want to keep an eye on. I mean, when I start when it turns, when the field comes out on Friday for the next event, I'm already looking ahead to the next event, right? I'm seeing who's in it. It gives me a way to keep an eye on golfers who are playing well over the course of the weekend. It's hard to say what the process is. And then I guess week of being able to run a model on the golf course to see what types of skills have success and then go find those golfers. That is the short of it. But being able to understand how the ebbs and flows of the game works has been pretty good. If this is a wedge plus, if this is a wedge fest, should we play Hoagie? So Hoagie's been horrible, but I think if you are going to rely on a skill set trait, Hoagie would be that guy, right? He hasn't been bad in the ball striking categories. He's been horrendous with the putter. So I think there is a path to him continuing to be to hit it well, go to a golf course that rewards the strongest part of his game, and then just hope he finds a hot putter. Putnam or Taylor Moore? It's a good question. Let me just look at Moore real quick. Whoops, because I have a pretty good idea of what Putnam's been up to. It's probably Putnam. Yeah, I think it's Putnam for this week and more long-term. 25th in the one and done. Should I play Cantlay this week, or is there another course that fits it? No, you should. I mean, he's been very good at like playoff events and stuff like that, but you should run him out. Good morning, Rick. Hope all is well. 125 to 175 bucket. Who is the number one golfer? So I don't think 125 to 175 is its own bucket. But I think 125 to 150 and then 150 to 175 is. So what I'll actually do is this. I'm just going to go to the custom model. And I encourage you to do this. Like, you can get kind of freaky with this, right? So why don't I just put 50 on 125 to 150 and 50 on 175 or 150 to 175. And then that basically splits it. So Tom Kim, Hideki, Colin, Scotty, Justin Thomas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ryan Moore, Victor Hovland, Russell Knox, Emiliano Grillo, and Eric Van Rooyen. Could we deep dive Doug Gim? Sure. So here's Gim. This is closer to what we saw, earlier in his career, right? Early in Doug Gim's career, very solid ball striker. You can see that here all through 2021, just ball striking the heck out of it and losing with the putter. Then he lost the ball striking, which is horrible. And you saw that the results fell off a cliff. We're getting it back now. And this is pretty optimistic. And the putter hasn't been as bad. So yeah, let's fire up Doug Gim. It took a while. He broke out of a slump, but I think we are back. Rick, could you use make a model using no course history? Sure. I'm going to try to sip my coffee very carefully. Armina texted me and said, or slacked me and said, I do know Heimlich, FYI. I don't think it's that type of situation, but it was some type of situation. All right, so we're going to make a model here without using course history. Okay. So let's do, actually, while I'm here in approach, let's just, I'm certain I didn't do this earlier in the week. So let's just do 10 on 100 to 125, 10 on 125 to 150, 10 on 150 to 175, and we'll just call that our approach. We will then also do 10 on accuracy, 5 on distance. We will also do strokes gained around the green last 50 for 15, strokes gained putting last 50 for 15, and I've got 25 left. I will put that on short courses for 15, and then we are going to put our last 5 or our last 10 on 5 each. Strokes gained 4+, strokes gained 5+. I want upside. Number 1 is Scotty Scheffler. Number 2 is Russell Henley. 3rd is Justin Thomas. 4th is Colin. 5th is Patrick. 6th is Finau. Then Tom Kim, Xander Schauffele, Hideki Matsuyama, Sung Jae Im. That takes into account 0 course history. Hey, Rick, if you blindly took the shortest odds player in one and done that you had available each week, how would you have done this year? I don't have this off the top of my head. I did it once, but I think what I did when I researched this one time is I looked at the top 5 guys in the betting odds and chose one of them until I couldn't anymore. And then I would keep moving down. And it does pretty well. It does pretty well. I do think now, though, you'd have to look at, there's such a big difference between designated events and non-designated events that you would have to almost be sure to have one of the top. You don't want to get into a situation where you get to the Travelers Championship and you're on the 22nd favorite. I don't think you'd want to get into that situation. So there's probably some mix and match as of right now. What are some wild plays and players that have a high ceiling at this price? Okay, so let's go to the power rankings, look at strokes gained, 5+, and let's just find like some cheapies here. Paul Haley gains 5 or more strokes to the field in 10% of his rounds. Jimmy Walker, 8%. Peter Malnati, no surprise, 8%. Ben Griffin, 5.5. Mark Hubbard, 5.6. There you go. Maybe those are some ideas. Any recommendation for LPGA stats or people to help with DFS gambling picks? I don't know about that. I am in the process of gathering LPGA data. So the hope would be, as of right now, RickRunGood.com has PGA, Korn Ferry, Live, Asian Tour, European Tour, and the Senior Tour. The goal would be to add the LPGA. So that I am in the process of that. Sorry. I'm trying to find my spot here. Hey, Rick, don't know if you've been keeping up with the World Series of Poker, but if you have thoughts on the Cabrel situation. Yeah. And it also says what's for lunch today. It's actually, it's almost like brunch because we're doing this 3 hours earlier. So if anybody's not paying attention, and I'm slightly adjacent to this, the guy I think is super annoying. Like one baseline, super annoying. Now that might be by design. He might be leaning into that because he knows it annoys everybody else at the table. The other problem, or at least the accusation, is that he had been marking cards. Because he would stand up and he would like peer over in a really unnatural way, which again might just be him trying to annoy his opponents. I don't know if he's trying to like create this perception that he's cheating, which I feel like is stupid, but I don't know how he'd be able to get away. I mean, if you're marking cards, everybody else would be able to see them too, unless he's wearing special contact lenses, which seems unlikely. I think he's just very weird and annoying. That's my take on it. Oh, where's Brooks? Said he was going to be here this week. That's right. Thoughts on Beau Hossler? We have not talked about Beau Hossler in a while, so let's look at what he's been up to. And admittedly, most of these guys I know off the top of my head how they've been playing. I cannot remember what Beau has been up to. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So he's got 7 made cuts in a row. His best finish was the team event, 3rd. but he followed it up with a T10 in Mexico. Last time we saw him was the Memorial. So what I like here is that he's a very good around the green player, a very good driver, and a very good putter. Now, the problem is going to be, now I'll tell you what though, I thought he was better with wedges. 50 to 125, he's horrible. 75 to 100, I mean, he's pretty bad on all approach statistics. And he's not very accurate, which is a little bit concerning. I think that's weird because when I asked him, we had him on the podcast, and I said, like, if you could have one shot, any one shot, and he was like, oh, like 85 yards, a wedge to a back left pin location or something like that. And I was like, cool. It's not very good with wedges. Might have to change that answer. Hey, Rick, I'm down to Morikawa and Fitz in the one and done. Where do you lean between those two? And is there a specific spot coming up? Yeah, I would use Colin here, and you could use Fitz at probably the Scottish, probably the Open Championship, or maybe a playoff event, but probably one of those two I feel a little bit better about. This is a question in regards to driving accuracy and how it might help Carson Young. And I would generally tend to agree there. He loses 7.5 strokes on approach at the US Open, but listen, LACC, whatever. And he's a very good approach player. If you look at his driving statistics, he's quite accurate off the tee. And outside of that one missed cut, he's been playing really great golf. So yeah, fire away. So a couple questions about Hideki, and I don't think I've done a deep dive on Hideki yet. So what I see in Hideki and why I'm so bullish on him this week is this, right? I mean, he is back to being an unbelievable ball striker. He's back to that. The putter is all over the yard, but he is capable of gaining more frequently now than he ever has. And I just don't see a path in which a guy that gains like 10 strokes from tee to green on a regular basis is not a good play. And he is seemingly pretty mispriced. Okay, good. A couple ownership questions, which I already answered. I've been making my own basic model for a while, and it's been pretty good. It spit out Tom Kim as my number one golfer. Well, okay, that's fine. I assume that if your model spit out Tom Kim, it's because you are heavily weighing driving accuracy. You are probably heavily weighing approach player ball striking, which would I agree with. And I think, the career progression of golfers, what have we learned? It is not linear. It is not constantly up and to the right. You see this all the time. Tom Kim comes out, wins twice immediately, and now the expectations are incredibly high. And if he had finished second in both of those events, I think he might have been better off long-term, but he's starting to find his footing now. And the approach plays back, which is what he kind of lost a little bit here from like Phoenix to Zurich, but he's been hitting it much better. Finished T8 last week. Short course. It's about time. Sick cat, Rick. Yeah, thank you. This is a Cinco de Mayo. This is a Cinco de Mayo rebrand of what team is this? I forget the team. It's a minor league baseball team. 47, the company did a bunch of these. I cannot remember what team this is, but it is a very cool hat. They did a bunch of really cool Cinco de Mayo ones. Oh, if you're top 5 in a one and done, Colin, if you have them. Trying to find some questions that are unique that I haven't answered already. Let's do a little bit of a deeper dive on Justin Suh. I think I passed him up in a 2v2 question a little bit earlier. The only problem that I have with Justin Suh is the reliance on the putter. Now, it's been working out, and he's got a couple of top 27 finishes in his last couple of starts. But this is generally a pretty scary stat profile for me because this is what happens. You lose a stroke or you gain a stroke and a half with the putter, and you miss the cut. So you're almost obligated to gain 3 strokes putting for the week to even have a chance to even like be around. You've got to do the putting thing. And then to really extend, you're going to have to go against basically your DNA. So that's a little bit concerning for me. Excuse me. Can you explain how DraftKings points gained is calculated? Yep. It's quite simple. It's calculated in the same way strokes gained is. So you take the average And if you scored more fantasy points than that, you gained. If you scored less, you lost. So for example, if last week the average fantasy performance was 25 fantasy points and you scored 50, you gained 25. If you scored 10, you lost 15. The reason to do it like that is because it allows for distinguishing between a US Open where scoring is going to be a lot lower versus like a Rocket Mortgage where scoring is going to be a lot higher. This says, Rick, you helped me get through the workday. I appreciate that. Is Ravi in play this week? Well, we should probably just start with the course history on Ravi, or we should probably just start with the course fit. Course fit wise, one of the better courses on the PGA Tour schedule for him. Course history wise, one of the best courses on the PGA Tour schedule for him, right? He's piled up a bunch of finishes here. He won this event in 2019. He finished T8 at it last year. So how's he playing right now? Pretty okay, right? The putter's been hot. He's gained with the putter in 8 straight. He's gained on approach in like 5 out of 8. Loses off the tee, but I assume he's losing all of those via distance, which he is, which is not going to be a problem this week. So when you add it all up, fit, history, and recent form, and where he's been doing well and where he's been doing poorly in recent form, I think we fire up Ravi here. Is there a metric that shows us which golfers score the most fantasy points relative to their DraftKings price? Yeah, it's called value. I thought I had it on the Holy Grail, but it does not look like I do. I used to at one point. So basically it would just be taking a golfer's salary, dividing it by 1,000, and then dividing the fantasy points by that. So for example, golfer is $10,000. You divide it by 1,000, so it's 1,000. If a golfer scored, it would be 10. I'm an idiot. And then if a golfer scored 100 fantasy points, that would be 10 points per every $1,000 of their salary. That's the way that I would look at it. Are you playing any WSOP events this year? Probably not. I'll tell you what, the schedule got away from me. There were 2 events I wanted to play, but they were like the first week, and I just like didn't make it happen. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we were away for the PGA Championship or whatever, but it just like didn't happen. It's hard because I just want like a $600 to $1,000 buy-in that is not going to take 5 days. I just want like a 2-day turbo or something. I'll get around to it. I'll tell you what though, there are, it'd be cool to play a WSOP event, but honestly, like the Win does a really good series of events. There's so many. I keep telling myself this too, right? It's like, oh, there's so many. I'll eventually play one. Is this a good buy low spot on our boy Sheamus? God, I hope so. He's just absolutely killing me in like season long leagues and things like this. I haven't been able to get away from him. It's not great. Losing strokes on approach in 3 straight. Nowhere has really saved him. The tee to green play has been horrible since API. When he was having his success, what was he doing well? He was gaining a little bit off the tee. He was gaining strokes on approach, and he was at least a positive player everywhere else. And we are pretty far removed from that. So unfortunately, I say this with great sorrow. I'm not sure this is a Sheamus week. Hey, Rick, I asked about Vegas water being safe to drink the other week. That's what you get here on the Rick Run Good live chat. I'm in your city right now. Cool. Maybe we'll run into each other at Circa. Made my first bet in person. Do you like Adam Svensson to make the cut? All right. Let's look at Svenny. Oof. What's this guy been doing? Again, this is a problem. It's a problem. You can't lose multiple strokes on approach every single week and think you're going to play well. It's just not going to happen, especially when that is historically probably one of his better assets. It is. It's the worst approach season of his career. One of his worst driving seasons of his career. Boy, really bad stat profile I do not think he's going to make the cut. Smash the like or take a hike. Yeah, that's right. That's true. Thoughts on Minwoo Lee? All right. So what I like about Minwoo, you are either going to win all the money or none of the money. Mini doesn't get you T20s, right? No min for min. No min wins for Minwoo. Okay. It's either all of it or none of it. And I like that. So the question is like, do you think he's like, this is a question I can't answer, right? This is all inherently on your risk tolerance. Are you building a portfolio of assets that one of them can be high risk? Minwoo Lee is like investing in emerging markets, right? It's like we're trading overseas in something really unstable. We might gain 40% a year. We might lose it all. He's crypto, right? That's good for a percentage of your portfolio, not all of your portfolio, but a percentage of it. So that's what I really like about Minwoo. The other thing is he's like a killer in majors, which is kind of sick. I don't think this should be considered a birdie fest. So Samuel says, should this be considered a birdie fest? I would not necessarily call it that, right? I mean, it's short, but Pete Dye does play pretty good defense. Let's see what the winning scores are. 19 under, 13 under, 19 under, 17, 17, 12, 14, 16, 15, 12, 14, 20. That was 12 years ago. We got to 20 for the first time. So no, I would not call this a birdie fest. I would probably say medium. Oh, I'm now getting to the questions where I was like, yeah, I almost Rick run dead there for a second. Tough scene. Okay. I made a bogey, but coffee is 1 under par. There's like 400 comments about that. So I'm just going to try to scroll. I'll read them later. Very good. Hovland or Morikawa, Fowler or Fleetwood, entirely dependent on what you want to use them for. I think in a vacuum, I mean, I would still go Colin. I mean, this golf course should be really, really good for Victor or for Colin. Almost slipped out. You know, Victor, I think Victor will be fine. His game's very, very sharp, but I like courses in which it is demanding off the tee. That is where he is going to separate himself with long, demanding courses. You don't even have to hit driver around this place. So if you I think it's going to be harder for Victor to separate himself off the tee. Colin, on the other hand, we know he's going to pound every fairway, and we know he's going to be an elite approach player. So probably Colin, and then probably Fleetwood. Again, really dependent on kind of situation. Front running in the extended run and done. Would you prefer Wyndham Clark, Max Homer, or Justin Thomas? Yikes. I hate them all. But I would probably go your front running. Christ. Homa. Don't love it. Where do I find opportunities gained on the site? Power rankings, fantasy. Let it load. It's a lot of data here. Opportunities and opportunities gained, and opportunities plus. So opportunities plus are inside 10 feet. Opportunities are 15 and in. Got a ticket to Saturday's rounds. Have you ever been? And if so, can you suggest a good vantage point? I have never been. I have heard, though, it is always a very well-run tournament. Never been, but I hear nothing but good things. Enjoy it. Fleetwood, Homa, or Finau for one and done. I wouldn't mind Finau. I wouldn't mind Fleetwood. Depends a little bit on your position. But shouldn't I be taking advice from you, Jim, the Animal Steel? Hey, Rick, did you build the tools and site from scratch? Yep. Yeah. I mean, I know just enough to be dangerous, right? Like, you should see, I'll show this at some point, the initial tools. Oh, man. Go back like 5 years and watch a DFS preview and look at the tools. I think I've learned a lot in that time. Yeah, if I skip your question, It's not personal. There's a lot of questions, and I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. And I don't want to take too many of like one type of question, obviously. And I want to get as many guys as I can. I don't think we've talked about Cam Young yet. I think we talked about Carson Young. So here's Cam Young. Slightly optimistic, right? So we've been tracking the demise of Cam Young's putting for the last couple of weeks. And when he loses the putting, it gets really sour. Now, the good news is, at least historically in his short career, that once he kind of breaks out of this slump, he can carry it for a little bit, right? So here's the putting slump, gains a little bit at the Players, goes nuts at the match play, goes nuts at the Masters. Here's a putting slump, gains a little bit at the US Open. Is it now go nuts time? Right? Are we about to go nuts? So that's why I'm a little bit optimistic. You're driving it well. The approach play needs to be better, but the putter wasn't even giving him a chance. So let's say cautiously optimistic after being out for like the last 5 weeks. What would be the lowest salary lineup you'd play? $47,000. Maybe less than that. You know, if you remember, if you subscribe to my newsletter, RickRunGood.com/newsletter. This is from every week I send out what the optimal lineup was for the week before. So last week's was 49,600. Now majors tend to be closer to 50,000 because the pricing is pretty soft, but often the optimal lineup was 48,000, 47, 49, 2, 4, whatever, right? It's just, I don't care about leaving money on the table. Could you see any of the following make a top 10 run? Denny, Woodland, Keegan, Aberg, Minwoo. Denny, certainly. Minwoo, I think. And Aberg would probably be my favorite on that list. Do you think people are too high on Sahith simply because of his second place finish here last year? Indeed. Indeed, I do. Let's see what his... he's only going to be 13% owned, approximately. But first off, this should be like one of the worst course fits for him, right? And he is likely to spray it. He is still making cuts, but the game's getting way more inconsistent. I mean, he's lost strokes from tee to green in 3 out of his last 5. He's lost strokes ball striking in 3 out of 4. I mean, the around the green play is not even all that solid. I'm worried about this. I hope I'm wrong. I love this kid. I hope he wins this week and says, "You're an idiot, Rick." I hope Amanda Renner says, "Hey, do you have anything to say?" And he says, "Yeah, I watched Rick Rungood's live chat and he said I'm spraying it and I stink." F you, Rick. I hope he does that. I just do not think this is a pretty good setup for him. Did we talk about Harris English already? Harris English. Is Harris back? I will go with probably not. No. Gaining 10 strokes putting at the US Open is certainly not repeatable. Gained 7.5 at the API, 8 at the Genesis. Other than that, I mean, he's just like, he is doing some things better. I'll give him credit for that. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago where when Harris English plays well, he's a well-rounded golfer, all this fun stuff. But man, it just feels like a trap. Combining taking a guy who was a champion from 2 years ago and then having him gain 10 strokes putting last week just feels like you're walking into an absolute trap. Any good Jock Market picks? You got me hooked. Yeah. So if I were on Jock Market, which I can actually put some bids in right now. Who did I mention earlier? I mentioned, who did I mention earlier? My brain is fried. I would probably, so here's what I'll do. Let's go Travelers Championship. This is stock market DFS. Yes, I'll join for free. I would get Austin Eckroat. Okay. So Austin Eckroat, at $3.66, which is his suggested price for tonight, that would be asking him to finish. IPO is not open. Oh, I'm doing this earlier than normal. Oh, all right. So basically, like he needs to finish like top 50 or something like that. I would have put a bid in, but I guess what time does this open? I'm usually doing this later. It opens in an hour. So you can bid on these guys. So Eckroat would be interesting. Hubbard would be interesting. I would look at Minwoo. I would look at Eric Cole, CT Pan. I like to buy down here. Harry Hall is not bad, as opposed to paying up here. But if you want to get involved, IPO opens in an hour. I have a promo code. It's Rick. It'll get you a $100 deposit bonus. And also they're like giving away a bunch of money this week as usual. So they're doing a good job. If you were leading one and done with 9 events left, how would you feel about Tommy at nearly 20% ownership? I'd feel fine about it. Use him. Rick last year. Whoops. Rick. Oh, now I lost my spot. Rick last year, Cantlay shot a final round 76 to fall behind Xander and Thagala. It feels like he had a great tournament, but closing has been a problem. C78 at Memorial. Any concerns there? No. I mean, go look at how he closed at the American Express, right? Go look at how he closed at, he closes fine. My buddy went to Vegas for 7 weeks. As we speak, his wife is coming. Recommend a hidden gem for dinner. Crossroads. It's in Resorts World. Great date spot. Delicious. Now that chef also... Did he open it up? We went to... Actually, the one in Vegas is the best one. We just went to the one in LA, and that's like the original one. It's good, but the one in Vegas is better. How does Sungjae Im look for one and done? Scary, right? Again, this is kind of a risk-reward situation. I don't remember seeing a stretch of golf this poor for Sungjae. 3 missed cuts in his last 4 and a T41. Ball striking not there. This is admittedly pretty concerning. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if I don't know. I do not know. But I believe that if you're going to play Sungjae, it is with a lot of risk. Is it odd to you that the winner of the Travelers Championship gets more than any major? Yep. Projected ownership is calculated for like 150 max. Event 49, $1,500 Super Turbo, no limit hold'em, 1 day, starts in 3 hours. Sure. You want half my action, Steven? Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Hold your pants on. So this says most value from the tournament predictor. I don't show the tournament predictor a lot. I should show it a lot more. I use it a lot. So what this does is this simulates the results of the event 1,000 times. So then shows how often a golfer won, top 5, top 10, top 20, etc. And then compares the odds at different sports books to see if there is value. So for example, the way to read this is Tom Kim won my sim 42% of the time. Because he is 35-1, that is like a positive expected value, right? Because 35-1 implies he's only going to win, 2.7% of the time or something like that. So he is going to win 1.5 times more frequently based on my sim than on what his implied odds are. Finau at 35 is also one. I mean, even Finau down to 28 is positive value. Siwoo, Matt Fitzpatrick, Jason Day, any of these green ones, right? The guys at the top are tough. Victor is actually pretty fairly priced at 20-1. So if you can get Victor at 20, it's fair. I don't know if you want fair, but that is basically him winning the golf tournament as often as the odds imply. Scotty Scheffler, it's tough because, he won my sim 6.4% of the time, which is a ton. It's a ton. But he has to win it way more frequently. He has to win it like 12% of the time to make him bettable at 6-1. So that's the way to read this. It's pretty cool. I hope you enjoy it. Can you update custom model instructions from 2 years ago? I did one recently. It should be on the tool tutorials playlist on Rick Run Good YouTube channel. If not, I will look into that, but I've definitely done it. Do you have or seen historical hole-by-hole shots by player? I haven't, Doug. I have it, Doug.
I have it, Doug. Doug, I have it.
But it's a crap ton of data. So I need a better way to present it on the website, because passing millions and millions and millions and millions of shots through is not the greatest user experience in the world. So I have it. I am actively working on a good way to illustrate that. Just for example, I know you guys kind of get a kick out of this, and I get a kick out of this. Bear with me for a second. I'll show you how good this is, because I'm dying to get this on the website and dying to use this for some. Actually, I don't know if I want to say that. No, I think you guys know this. I do some consulting for some players, and because I only have to pull one player at a time. This is kind of what I use the data for the most, but I do want to make it available on a wider scale. So, for example, I need to zoom in though, because I don't want to give away. This might be a bad idea to show this. All right, I'm not going to show this, but I have the shot by shot data. Yeah, I probably got out over my skis there. Sorry, I'm not going to show it, but yes, I have it. This is coming too. I have this too. I've actually been working on this. Any thoughts on having position on the player profile reflect their position at the end of that particular round? Yes. Yes. It'll be on the Holy Grail or anything that is round by round. It'll basically, so right now on the Holy Grail, even in the strokes game by round, it just tells you what their finishing position for the tournament was. What this will do, so for example, here's Adam Long. What this will do is it'll have position after each round. I'm close to that. Again, a lot of data, and a lot of calculations, but close to that. Do you have a tool that shows you best first round scores? Yep. So Holy Grail, go by round, sort by first round, filter here, sort. John Rahm, no surprise. Some guys that are like better in round one than other round, like Mark Hubbard, right? Mark Hubbard gains 1.2 strokes per round. He's $6,900. Adam Scott usually better in the first round. Matt Kuchar usually better in the first round. S.H. Kim usually better in the first round. So yes, that's on the Holy Grail. Hey, Rick, any thoughts on rules violation by Wyndham this past week? So I admittedly have not watched the broadcast yet. I didn't see anything on the telecast, but I think I saw a clip on Twitter about him putting his club behind the ball and it moving. Is that, I think that's what we're talking about, Ron. I would say, not great. I would say every guy does it. That doesn't make it any more wrong, but every guy does it. And I think it was kind of hard to tell if the ball moved. I think it probably did, but I guess I don't really have a take on it. I don't know. Kind of sucks, but most golf rules are stupid and have zero impact on the game. And I don't know if that really impacted it. If we're all talking about what I think you're talking about. Dude, have Rahm, Tony, Cantlay, and $12.5 million. Fifth place, one and done. What's the plan? The plan is to use Cantlay, then use Fitz at Scottish, Rahm at the Open, or like Cam Smith at the Open, and Tony at one of the playoff events. That would be the plan. All right, I'm going to stop there before I have any like dying cough fits. Appreciate everybody working with me. So earlier today, obviously, there is still a Jock Market Power Hour tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. We'll bid. We'll go through all that fun stuff. It's a great game. Additionally, sign up for RickRunGood.com. Why not? It's the best, and I'm constantly making improvements. And I appreciate you all. My newsletter, I send it out every week. It's free. RickRunGood.com/newsletter. It allows me to be a little creative. Other than that, goodbye.